Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another MOCA weekly town hall, and especially Vibey one, we think. My name is Max. To my right is Renee Colborn. Underneath me, Untitled. Somewhere over on the other side of the screen, going this way as the crow flies, would be Daim Al-Yad. And we are thrilled to be here with you on the week that we have released our Vibe Studio, our brand new whole MOCA ecosystem of apps, processes, experiments, community organization. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot more. First of all, how's everyone doing? All right.
Good.
Doing great.
Even amidst,
as long as we stay above 100K Bitcoin.
I was going to say, even amidst
we fall through, then it might get a little tricky.
It might happen over the course of this town hall.
Or could.
So it's not. We're obviously going to talk a lot about the Vibe Studio today, but I want to jump back into what we were just talking about before we hopped on, which is investment in AI. Colborn, can you maybe summarize what we were just kind of talking about?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good prefacing conversation for why we're here as a museum. Right? Like, what did we dedicate the last 2 years of our lives to try and uncover, to try and see, to try and produce? I think in all things, a Vibe Studio is a very unserious way to play with a very serious thing, and I think we do that very, very well. And I think the learnings kind of reflect back. I guess before, I was remarking kind of on your statement that NVIDIA now makes up 16% of the US economy, and I think Mag 7 is 40% of US GDP, how absolutely critical it is for the US in not unprecedented ways, could be the Manhattan Project, could be the space race, to begin to centralize everything in its production to achieve this goal of AGI and superintelligence, and what a tremendous boon it will be to the nation that gets there first.
Yeah, we were talking a bit. So when I had first come on, Renee was the first one to kind of join the stream, and he was just saying that like agents are going to come back in a big way, and we were just kind of talking about like why that is and some of the leading indicators, but perhaps the most important indicator is that AI is at this point far too big of a technology to fail, or at least that I think is the crux of what we're kind of going around. There's a lot of discussion and a lot of fear, I think, about a bubble with AI, that the bottom is going to fall out of NVIDIA and the Mag 7 stocks, and the tech stocks are going to plummet, and that's just going to lead to a cascading effect of, I don't know, recession across the West. But if we consider that the production of AGI is the most generation-defining economic activity of probably the 21st century, then and the West is kind of centralizing its entire sphere of influence and economic power around these few companies within the US, NVIDIA and OpenAI and God, why can't I think of Anthropic? Sorry, and those are going to be kind of the emissaries of AGI for the West, or AI for the West. Then it literally cannot fail, because the entire Western world and its hegemony over what it currently has hegemony over, what it wants hegemony over, is going to be predicated specifically and exclusively on that. So everything else, every government activity, every investment, every subsidy, every tax break, whatever, is all about preserving the possibility of a U.S. and West controlled AGI ecosystem today.
And I think this ties into a lot of the conversation we've seen on the timeline with Mamdani, with Artur, at Tezos, with the revival of the Peter Thiel email to Zuckerberg about what is the people's buy-in to this system.
Tell you what, let me pull that up. I have that somewhere here. I think it's actually worth looking at. Bear with me for half of a second because I think that's a cool thing to actually take a look at. The Peter Thiel letter, that is.
I don't know if I've ever seen the Peter Thiel letter.
Let's see. Peter Thiel letter.
It's basically I can summarize it. I'm sure Max will find it.
Yeah, I'll just share real quick.
2008, 2009, go for it. Good job.
So
2020.
2020, it was basically it was a policy letter. I'll just read it in its entirety. I certainly would not suggest that our policy should be to embrace millennial attitudes unreflectively. I would be the last person to advocate for socialism. But when 70% of millennials say they are pro-socialist, we need to do better than simply dismiss them by saying they're stupid or entitled to brainwash. We should try and understand why. And from the perspective of a broken generational compact, there seems to be a pretty straightforward answer to me. Namely, that when one has too much student debt or if housing is too unaffordable, then one will have negative capital for a long time and or find it very hard to start accumulating capital in the form of real estate. And if one has no stake in the capitalist system, then one may well turn against it.
Wow. I've never seen that before. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, super interesting.
Especially coming from Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
That's a whole other.
I was like, are we going to get into an Antichrist conversation here? Where are we going with this?
Last time I saw him was on the South Park episode, on the recent one.
Yeah. Dude, South Park's been killing it.
Point being, though, that I think that it's really astute, and it's something that's become really clear. I obviously live in New York City. If that wasn't clear by me introducing the show from Brooklyn every week, and the election of Zoran is pretty pronounced. It's not just about his election; it was about the amount of electorate that came out for the vote. He was the first, I think, candidate to receive 1 million votes in a New York City mayoral election since the 50s or the early 60s. So a really, really long time. Won with 52% of the vote, I believe. So, fairly.
Yeah. Honestly, with Zoran too. I previously lived in New York for 15 years. Recently left New York City proper. But I know, but my last vote was for Zoran before I left, and I had never seen more young people canvassing ever in my life.
Yeah, one of the important statistics to come out of this. Obviously, there's a lot of reflection and retroactive analysis, but it's Zoran was plus 40 with people aged 18 to 29. Yeah. And I think that just goes to show not only that there is attractiveness in populist policies, and especially democratic socialist policies, but the generational compact that Thiel spoke about is so broken. It's so broken that even in your mid-20s, you're aware that something's fucked up here, that you have no way of getting, or you feel that you have no way of getting out of kind of the economic trenches. And
so just to point, we have two divergent movements, one social, right, and one technological, where the technological movement continues to eat away at the ability for young emerging people to enter this system where their work is being automated, where they can get into industry, where they can learn, and it's creating a huge disaffected class in the system, and I think that's rightfully so. I think a lot of us have gone through enough kind of layered crises to see that it feels like the powers that be are trying to accelerate AI as a new system, as a new technological system of governance, of control, of making sense of the world. And at some point on some side, something is going to have to give, but it feels.
Well, I wrote about this in the newsletter this last week at museumofcrypto.substack.com, but I used a graph that was first brought to my attention by Derek Thompson, the former Atlantic writer. He now has his own newsletter. He's a really smart guy. But the graph was showing the rise in S&P 500, the rise of the S&P 500 compared to job openings. And it's very rare that you see the stock market rise in such a feverish pitch. The S&P 500 is up a dramatic amount since 2023, and job openings are steeply declining. And those two things theoretically should never happen at the same time, right? If companies are more profitable, they should be expanding, they should be hiring, they should be investing in human capital, and it's just not happening. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. And Thompson is very clear in his article that like it is not necessarily an AI phenomenon, but it is very interesting to look at considering the AI environment, that profitability on the investment side, and I guess you could call it economic satisfaction on the ground level are just not, they're getting more and more disconnected.
I mean, I wonder what that chart would look like also if you stripped out the Mag 7. You know, stripped out Google, Amazon, because I know disproportionately that has provided so much the returns to the S&P 500 over the last decade.
Yeah, just a wild concentration of the S&P 500. Under 90% of it is what those 5 to 7 companies. I think it's crazy too. There's such a shift in company values now, where 10 years ago there was an immense amount of pride as an American company in your ability to provide for jobs. And now it's optimization. How few jobs can accomplish the task, provide maximum shareholder value in that respect. That's a wild shift. And you see that in all the big companies. They're not, what's the meme? They're not admitting, they're bragging about the fact that they can do more with less.
Yep. My buddy just got laid off in a round of layoffs from IBM. And like that is just the reality now, that like every big tech company is laying off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of its workforce. And that's only going to, it's going to be a 1% increase, and then it'll be 1% 6 months from now, it'll be 1% 6 months from now, and then it'll be 10%. And all of a sudden, all of these companies will have 15% less workers by 2030. And then you have 15% of a highly literate, college educated class of workers who theoretically should be like prime time of their lives, right? These are people who are not entry level, they're not C-suite, they're like mid-career, should be buying houses, should be starting families, and that stuff is all going to get pushed off. Maybe you guys saw that, like, I'm not sure, U.S. Consumer Report maybe noted that the median home buyer age has risen to 40.
Wow.
Which is the oldest by like a long shot in the history of the United States. So yeah, anyways, I think that we can all tie this together. So here's my attempt to tie everything we've been talking about together, which is broken social compact. People are looking for answers anywhere, especially young people. The rising tide of AI is not going to help, I think, in the issues that are facing young people, i.e. joblessness and housing prices. However, the rising tide of AI is not stopping, and it is probably going to get much more feverish in the coming years as it kind of reshapes everything. You kind of have two options, right? You can rage against the dying of the light, or you can completely do what I think a lot of savvy companies did, even though it's kind of a meme at this point, which is pivot into AI. And I think that explains why we want to do what we're doing, which is be on the ground floor of this kind of technology, maybe at a consumer level. I mean, specifically in the art world, the digital art world, but certainly like at the consumer level, as both a exemplar of what can be done with today's toolkits and just kind of a small, nimble team. And also for, the general populace, like, here's what you can do with this technology. Maybe you will find ways to benefit yourself with it. We're going to offer it to you the best we can. And I think that that's kind of the bucket that we are putting a lot of our eggs into. I mean, if the original goal of the museum was to provide like tools for crypto art, and like most tools can be AI adjacent, then our goal now should be to provide like a base layer of AI integrated tools with which people can use what Renee is.
Renee, what was that?
You like what I was saying? I don't think
he's maybe yawning or something. That was wild.
Yeah, like and the Vibe Studio is this collection of tools that we want to put into people's hands so that they can figure out ways to do what we're doing, which is use this technology to benefit themselves instead of kind of just like throwing themselves lively at its altar.
I think that was well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was well said.
Yeah.
We've been like, from I think our goal as the museum being on the front line of all of this, from NFTs to the market of NFTs to early metaverse to the installs, has just been to give a first glimpse to people of what is possible. And I think it continues to brighten and enlighten and open up roads for people to follow. So just trying to translate all of this mystique from this small team back into kind of the hands of individuals has always been the goal.
And I feel like too, where our spirit is in the preservation and the strengthening of these original narratives of crypto art as well. Like we're really very much, the internet is very much in this kind of like medieval period. I feel like where things are published, things are destroyed, everything is hard to find. We really have to embrace a lot of these technological innovations in order to preserve and protect the original ethos of what this crypto art movement was and started as. And I feel like if we don't really embrace a lot of these agentic resources, then we will have a much softer voice in the future. Like this feels like, especially with decos, these are Daim always refers to them as ambassadors. They really are. They're ambassadors of crypto art, ambassadors of the museum. And to what we were saying yesterday, this is our approach at creating a healthier, decentralized series of toolkits that allow people to kind of, build upon this, build their own, and grow the original voice of that was crypto art in the beginning a few years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that honestly, I sit in an interesting position within the museum because I think by far the most tech illiterate of, especially the five of us.
I mean, by far.
Yikes.
Thank you for the clarification, Colin.
That's so rude.
Although I do operate the live stream, so everyone.
Also, all the you're also operating all the wallets.
Yeah, operating.
Yep.
Things just back and forth with no rhyme or reason, just to make sure things work. I have my seed phrase written on a cocktail napkin. Lipstick smudges. My point is that these tools are important for people like me, right, who are interested in all of this stuff on a conceptual level, don't have the technological backing, don't have the technological know-how. I'll never discover these tools on my own. I put me in front of a GitHub repository and I am like a fucking child in a mall who lost his parent. Like, I do not know what to look at. I don't know where I'm going. I just kind of sit in hysterics. And I think it's important that people like me have a place to go for these tools. Again, like you guys are saying, not only to be able to use them, but to just see what's possible with them so that I can, learn to stop fearing and love the bomb, so to speak. That's a Doctor Strangelove reference. I went to film school. Did you guys know that?
Who doesn't love Kubrick? We should also just maybe thank everybody who tuned in to the live stream yesterday. We saw kind of a meteoric rise of Art Decos. Somebody aped in and bought 91 on their own, up 300%. And it's retraced a little bit since then. I know I've seen a bunch of new names in the activity feed. So just thank you everybody who paid attention, saw the thing, and was picking up what we were putting down.
We can't get past the 2022 buzzword of when utility. We're just like, all right, let's give all the utility.
When utility.
When roadmap.
Yeah, this is a max utility scenario. I don't think bias alert, but what other PFP has this deep pockets like this in terms of toolkits and anyway.
I mean,
Vibe Studio. Come
on the impossible metric of unit of innovation for dollar spent, I think we're like high and to the right.
Off the charts.
Wait, maybe high and to the left. I don't know, whatever. We're pretty efficient.
Like look at this. Look at this though. This is a world map Daim built that traces every deco's DNA to their origins and what inspired them. And they're just like, it's fascinating to go through this. And then you can go to the codex and see, okay, this is their origin story. And if you scroll down, there's just like essays worth of backstory for each deco. And that all of this fuels their agentic profile. It's just so, nothing else is built like this.
I would need to work at the museum writing at the same clip I've been writing for the next like 80 years if I want to match the sheer quantitative output of words that Daim generated in Deco 6 months. And
That's why we use AI.
You can do it, Max. You can do it.
I can't do it.
We'll all live forever by then.
You guys are so encouraging, but ultimately I think you're a little delusional. Which maybe should be the whole tagline of the museum. Really encouraging, maybe a bit delusional.
That's a great tagline. We should do that.
A little bit delusional for your sake.
Obviously, we are very proud of the Vibe Studio. And we know that it's going to take some time for people to kind of get in touch with these tools and use them. We will be showing people day after day after day after day after day after day after day why these tools are so exciting, and we're going to keep making shit. I mean, I said on the stream yesterday at launch that like there's like 2 apps in the Vibe Studio. Like 20% of the Vibe Studio was made in the last like 3 days because like we just realized there was things that were cool ideas and we're missing, and we just spun them up. And as we get better, I think at vibes coding as a foundation,
Like also as a community, I think. Like as soon as we have the SDK ready and people can like query all the codex data in high performant fashion. Like right now we only have like an endpoint where you can query the data per ID, and we have some helper JSON structs. But once like everybody can have like documentation built with this, everybody will be vibing the artists and the coders and the thinkers, idea guys, girls, everybody.
Is vibe coding treated like prompt engineering for artworks, where like I know artists are kind of sometimes reticent to discuss how exactly they structure prompts to get their outputs? Is vibe coding similar, or is it more like communal practices are known and communicated?
I mean, there's I think aspects where you can probably benefit from I don't know, creative and thoughtful prompting, but I think the way that the tools are developing, for the most part, I feel like the already partially achieved goal is to be able to one part of it is to be able to essentially instruct your coding agent as though they were, I don't know, like a junior programmer, if you will, on what to do, and instruct them on how to test and verify the correctness of implementation, and effectively to take over from you, the programmer that decides, or the architect that decides on sort of the high level stuff, the more I guess sort of straightforward but time consuming aspects of the coding. Is that how you see it too, Renee?
I mean, you need to, maybe you just like take that by granted, but you need to be able to formulate what you want from the AI. Like you need the vocabulary to be able to precisely describe what you want to have built. I mean, not everything can be one-shotted.
Yeah, for sure.
Understand structure, code, like best practices, set up the right
Yeah.
files and stuff.
But it's more about having like sort of programming, lingo and understanding, and less about having, like special
Yeah,
AI prompting sauce, right?
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I don't know. I'm at a point where I find the anti-AI blather online more and more tiresome, and like as far as it relates to vibe coding, it always has to do with um, I don't know, like implications about security concerns and like code quality and so on and so forth. But there's so many things where what you're writing is not some hugely distributed, sprawling, multi-million code line piece of software that's going to manage trillions of dollars for hundreds of millions of people around the world. And like in as far as concerns exist, they're pretty easily mitigatable through like common sense, manual review of what was generated. Um, and not to mention that there's also situations where you know I think especially as an artist, you're writing stuff that nobody other than you is ever going to use, and the utility of the code is fundamentally in producing its output, very possibly once. And like
Yeah, that's true.
coding with AI has come from being an awkward thing to being, I feel like, perhaps one of the most impressive demonstrations of like how far AI development has come. Right? Because it's not something that's kind of wishy-washy or subjective or whatever. Like if you're telling your coding agent to write certain sort of functions to accomplish certain particular like coding or like algorithmic tasks, it either comes up with one of an infinite number of possible solutions that works, or it doesn't.
This is something that like has honestly frustrated me a lot about the AI kind of dialectic in the public, which is like the equation of like, oh, why are we spending all this money on just like a worse version of Google? And like you kind of don't understand like what the technology is actually used for, and the fact that you can just like spin up these whole programs and like
and we have slop amnesia, right? Like every major technological breakthrough.
Did you just come up with that?
Maybe I like it, slop amnesia, because we do every like the internet was slop in the beginning, social media was slop in the beginning, like all these things, and people tend to think whatever is put out is its final form, and that drives me crazy. To both of your points, so yeah, we have amnesia for this stuff. Like people tend to look at it and they're like, well, why no work now best the way I want? And you're like, come on, just let it. Some of these things are, it's insane how it has evolved, to Daim's point, over the last year. And
can I suggest a finicky correction, at least as far as the internet is concerned?
Yes.
I think the internet became slop when the general public arrived. I was on the internet, I think, at least a little bit before that. And what I remember is that pre-general public, like, only weirdos go on the internet type days, the internet was actually a very thoughtful place, filled with, nothing but passion projects, because there was no freaking way to make money of any of it. It's when the general public and companies arrived that, things started to kind of go to shit a little bit before getting to where we are now, where, well, I guess there's still a lot of shit, but there's a balance of sorts now. So I think it's gonna be growing pains along the way, but like certainly already with AI too, you know, people who complain about AI slop, I don't know. Part of me wonders whether they like go out of their way, you know, looking for it or trying to focus on those issues, because I'm not exactly a guy who's, you know, rarely online, and I'm yet to have major issues. And on the other hand, I mean, you know, certainly my work existence, but also my personal life has been, you know, greatly improved and enriched by AI, from, you know, all the work we've been doing together to I think that might have been a team call I shared it on, but I have 3 baobab saplings that I basically grew from seed, largely with, you know, Chat GPT guidance every step along the way.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, so how let's share how decos are going to save the world. How are decos going to save humanity?
Should we just give the pitch and, well, okay. Should we talk about how decos are going to save humanity, or are we going to talk about how decos are going to save money from leaving our ecosystem?
I guess
They're not the same.
maybe is there something in between?
Aren't they?
Well, I do actually think this bears some discussion. I'm not trying to be like a total shithead, but like I thought for a second it looked like I was wearing a suit jacket with a tank top, and I just want to make it clear this is just a jacket. Like it's just cold. I'm not doing anything. I'm not like a jazz musician from like the fedora Jason Mraz type. Sorry.
Yeah,
You can put on the fedora, Max. It's okay.
like I'm going for a look, and I'm really not. Point is, I do think we should be very clear about why this project works economically for decos and the forthcoming MOCA token. I do think it bears discussion about why these things are, like, we do believe they're going to make decos more valuable. And I'm happy to take a stab at that myself, or if somebody else would rather do that.
Stab it up.
Okay, so stab is this, which is we have 10,000 NFTs, and they are dispersed amongst quite a few holders, hundreds of holders. We want to get that number up. We want to continue to put pressure on the floor. There's 2 ways to put pressure on the floor, which is to get people interested in the project, and 2, to consistently direct them towards new reasons to invest in the project, right? So if we consider that art decos are kind of like the fundamental building block of all the agentic tech we're doing, it's not just about making decos attractive to the 1% of people who are going to like find this technology on their own. It's making this technology really accessible and easy to use. So like we have the Adoption Center. The Adoption Center is all about like the possibility of this technology and pointing people towards floor priced decos. There's always going to be 10 to 15, or maybe it's just 10 to 20 decos. 10 decos in the Adoption Center. They're always going to be pulled from the floor. They're updated, I think, hourly, depending on what's bought, so that you can talk to and form a connection with these decos, the ones on the floor, right? They are going to be the ones that are best known to the most people, right? Because otherwise you are kind of only able to speak to your decos in the Deco Agent Launcher, right? So these are the ones that are readily available. So price pressure on the floor consistently, I think, is one thing. And I think that it's an addictive process once you talk to these decos, and once you start to like actually form a connection with them, and especially once you start to see how they think differently. Until this point, the stickiest thing about a PFP project was the influence that it gave you, right? Or the social communication that you got from it, right? The reason people weren't selling Bored Apes in 2021 is because they got something for their Bored Ape, right? They got a certain sense of social inclusion, a certain social status. The aesthetics, we think the aesthetics are fantastic, but the aesthetics oftentimes don't matter because it is what the thing communicates outward. So the idea of the aesthetics of decos was that there would be so much visual information that it would communicate certain things about the people who held it. whether they were serious, whether they were silly, whether they liked certain artists, whether they had certain predilections with certain art movements, etc. But stickier than all of that by far is going to be if you have a connection with these assets as in a way that is completely inimitable. If Art Deco 9309 speaks differently and talks to you differently and knows different things than every other Art Deco, which is true, and you vibe with what 9309 says about, you know, topics A, B, and C, it's not like you could just sell that and get a new one, right? 9309 is your Art Deco, right? It is the only one with this personality. And I think, like we think, that is going to be a much, much more motivating call to hold on to these assets for far longer than anything that's been previously attempted with the PFPs. And there's only really one thing that makes an NFT project valuable, and it's like, well, the supply and demand, right? Do more people want to buy in than people who want to sell? And we believe that slowly but surely, as people start to get these decos, 1, 2, 3, form a little squadron of them that can all go out and do these, you know, agentic tasks like identifying artworks and collecting artworks and curating artworks in exhibitions and populating metaverse spaces with various levels of ease and insight and with various, you know, automatic sensibilities based on what's been put in their codex, that people will not want to sell these things because they cannot just buy a commensurately cheaper or, you know, different looking version. They are giving up on an inimitable asset inevitably. And so our thinking is that we want to get decos into people's hands because once they're in their hands, we think that they will be incredibly hard to pry out. That combined with pressure on the price floor, plus, you know, more apps that are often going to be the most interesting to use if you hold a deco, we think it's going to make this an incredibly valuable asset.
I also think it's important to have like an asset like decos as the museum where people can vest their interest in, you know, being a part of this community and then also like building. And now due to all these AI tools and the vibe coding narrative where we are laying the foundation for with this Vibe Studio, basically everybody can contribute something. It's just like way easier compared to the first NFT run where there were only a few creators and most of the people were just sitting on their backs hoping that they pump or like do whatever they do to like shout on chat rooms to make it pump. Now we can like funnel like vested interest towards like building like an app store of arts and culture, and everybody can participate and help and join that mission while being also, you know, invested with that by holding these assets from the collection. I think that makes such a big difference. The fact that they are all so unique, and that the content that you can derive from that is just like absolutely like next level compared to these other collections where it just wouldn't be possible. Like we have 10,000 completely different beings. I mean, look at her. Like this is an Art Deco. But then we also saw community video yesterday, I think it was in this account, like this one. Generate from this
Who made that?
image. You know,
Super cool.
what the fuck? And you have like 10,000 completely different like base personas, each of them having like a rich history and a rich understanding of the world around them. It's
I love how this one is that one's favorite artist is Tox. That's so funny.
yeah.
Tox Sam, who actually designed some rooms as well. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing more sticky than these. If one of the major goals here is stickiness, like Renee, could you also talk a little bit about how people will soon be able to share their own works, their own stories with the decos, and consequently kind of alter their memory a little bit? Is that something we can talk about?
Yeah, we are going to allow enable people to upload their own data into their codecs. Like right now, this is the view that you have when you launch the decos. I could this. Like you find it here, but now you could click them in the upcoming version, and then for the deco of your choice, like define additional PDF files, Markdown files, whatever, like text that they should be aware of. So when you spin up your operating system with the agents of your choice, then you direct them, or allow the people to direct their decos into a position where they, for example, can talk about the latest body of work of the artist, or all the different, let's say, art exhibitions they've been a part of, or like you can add your own lore as a person or as like a project or a company. Completely depends on how you are using your art deco, as like a personal companion, as like an agent that does the comms for your company. Like, I don't know, the opportunities are endless, and they are only getting bigger. And our goal, like with this Vibe Studio stuff, is to, in this endless stream of possibilities, like define certain narratives that everybody can tackle together. And then another week, there's a new narrative that everybody tackles together. Like, the world is moving so fast, and we are going to capture the attention of crypto Twitter, Web3 in these narratives. Like, we want to position arts and culture at the forefront of content creation when it comes to the mass adoption of digital assets, which, in my opinion, I've never like really looked away from that. Since I found NFTs in 2017, I'm pretty sure that digital assets are not going away, the same way as cryptocurrencies or stablecoins are not going away. It's just going to be more and more will be tokenized. Real world asset will be tokenized, because that way you can like manage liquidity around these things. Seamless, easy, global, instant. There's just no reason for that to go back into the box. It's not going to happen. And if we can lead the arts and culture angle with the MOCA community, like a community that is not tangled by like venture capital interest, or like everything is grassroots, the whole spirit is open source, and everybody can collaborate with us, and build a vibe code application. Today we have like a repository live that explains the API endpoints that we already have, the helper data, like everything is already like documented in a sense. Spin it up, we're going to link it here in the Vibe Studio. And this is only getting more and more interesting once it goes into like integrates into the MOCA token, integrates into I don't know, whatever you want to like program into your own Vibe Studio application, maybe around your own token. Right now it's more about attention, content creation, but then again, like possibilities are endless, and we as a community want to shape those trajectories, like where the attention is going.
And I just want to add a little, I don't know, aside about sort of the idea of Vibe app, the Vibe Studio apps. As Max noted earlier, like quite a few of those were made in the last couple of days, not necessarily because they were easy or because we're such amazing programmers or whatever, but because we recognized sort of a potential functionality or niche that basically had all this data already available and like practically just begging to be used and, you know, meshed into a slightly different form. And I think the more the Vibe Studio sort of builds out, the more opportunities like that will be. Like, you know, if you have sort of ready and selective access to all the Art Deco metadata, you know, there's nothing keeping you from doing even like fairly weird little things. Like you want to, I don't know, have users pick a city and you you pick 2 decos from that location, and you know, while keeping their sort of stylistic and personalities intact, you know, create a rap battle between the 2 of them. Like that's not a far-fetched idea at this point, along with
Yeah.
you know, just
Takes
about
a few
anything else you
hours.
can imagine. Yeah.
It takes a few hours to build.
Yeah, I can't wait to. I've been digging through my collection. I'm going to collaborate with them on metaverse architecture. They're going to be my architecture studio team, and you ask them based on their own experiences what type of building should we create for this or that, and I can't wait because they all have such deep backgrounds.
Why do you hate hiring real people?
I'm anti-reality. Remember? Yeah.
A lot of interns,
Please.
a lot of college students would love the opportunity. No.
Reality. Listen. Reality is so 20th century. You know, please. Honestly, no. I do get a lot of-
Introversion is not a crime.
I actually, so with my alumni networks, I speak with students all the time. I've presented many times what we're doing with the architecture schools I went to for both grad and undergrad. And they're, I mean, these younger people are so hungry to learn this stuff. And they have such a different perspective than the people who are already in the workforce, who have this kind of like, there are a lot of folks who have just a tremendous amount of fear, which we've talked about around this tech, around crypto, around AI. And I've been met with nothing but curiosity from young people who are in school who want to be digging into this. So it's really encouraging, to be honest. But yeah, maybe we should do like an intern residency type thing. That'd be fun.
You're so right. Why does every other company get the benefit from free labor and we don't?
No, never mind. I take it back. No controversy.
Take on interns. Does anyone have connections to colleges? We should. Were we going to do something with the University of Berlin? Right? Don't you want some kiddies running around, fetching you sodas and?
I'm not even real.
Oh my god. Oh, that's funny.
That's a good point.
Are
any of us real?
Are any of us? Is this all just a deco simulation?
I'm
They've taken
real.
over.
We've deco-sended.
Deco-sended. That's funny. Put on my tombstone. What else should we talk about? We got like 10 minutes.
Could I be curious to hear? I mean, I know we speak about this every session here, but from Daim and Renee to speak a little bit about the tech behind how these are working, just to reiterate that these are using some very cool pieces of tech and partners that are not really that I think people might take for granted when they start spinning these things up, but understanding some of the backbones here would be cool.
I think Renee can probably start with that, and I can fill in gaps here and there if you throw the ball over to me now and then.
Of course. So what happens when you select your decos here is that you like first you log into this page. Like I'm already logged in, Web3 login. It shows your decos in your inventory. Then you select up to 10 of them that you want to spin up. And then as soon as you hit start or restart, like a deployment procedure is going to take place, which in the back end is what is happening is like we are building a Docker container for each holder. So this is now building a Docker container for my Ethereum account, and that is loading those 4 selected personalities and bringing that Docker container on like it's being hosted on a Coolify server. Like on that Coolify server, we have like multiple of these Docker containers running, like going up and down, being like restarted with new selection of agents by all the users. And we can like scale this to like multiple servers, do load balancing and stuff in the future, depending on what is needed. And as like the container is being built, like we also put variables into the operating system, which is being built with the Docker container. For example, like the language model that is being used. And in this case, it is connecting to an API endpoint by our friends Compute. We are using their API keys that we receive as stakers and can like forward that benefit or utility to our token holders, so they get free intelligence because the museum is partnering with Compute AI. And we are using the Hermes 4 model by News Research, which is a fine-tune of Llama 3 with like improved data sets. It's really one of the best that you can get for solid 70B model architecture with tool calling and everything that an agent needs. We are going to also enrich agents with image generation capabilities in the future. We will also, as I already mentioned, like allow the upload of files, and then also like connecting that to your own like bots that you manage, like hook that into a Discord bot, for example, on your server. So it has like basically is getting imbued with the spirit of your Art Deco and its personality when the thing talks in Discord. Same goes for Twitter, Telegram, like the Eliza OS community, which is building out the open source agent framework that we are using, is shipping more and more plugins. Like the whole development there is very vibrant, and we are benefiting, or each Deco holder is benefiting from that as we leverage the open source stack there. And once it's started, you can
So we're staking COM tokens to get Compute to allow these operations to take place, and we're using News Research's open source model to build out the brain, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Come on. That's ridiculous. And each one of these, as they spin up, are powered by Eliza OS as well,
which is migrating in 5 minutes.
Oh, hey. Happy birthday, Eliza.
What does that mean?
It's
Untitled is asking.
It's moving from the AI16Z token to and away from its meme coin roots to the Eliza OS operating system, which is an operating system for agents.
Sick.
Reborn again.
Am I going to get money for
that?
They're not paying you already?
They should be. Shaw won't respond to my emails.
That's really exciting for Eliza. I'm excited for the migration.
Yeah. I mean, it's tech that we're using.
Yeah.
How often is there tech in crypto that you actually use?
And we're using the hell out of this stuff. We're using.
I know. Well, every time I say 10,000 Eliza OS agents, people lose their mind.
And a lot of, Compute has been we've been like really with them since the starting line of the COM token, and I feel like working with NATOs to kind of understand their platform and figuring out new limitations together has been really. I'm not a very technical person, and it's like fascinating to see that unfold, because I feel like we've really been able to shape a very like co-beneficiary model here, where we can power all these decos, pass that on to the deco holders for free. They don't see how that is operating in the back end. And it's just really cool to see all this tech playing out together, because it's a lot of moving parts that make one deco be able to talk to you and tell you what it's up to.
With my ape.
I mean, look at those apes.
1277.
And then we're gonna go because we're running low on time here.
We're migrating. We're migrating.
We're all gonna sit around our computer and watch the Eliza OS migration.
I mean, maybe like before we do that, like another thing, like this is the ape that I wear as my Twitter profile picture. So it's pixel deco, which is like the pixel, but with the apes and aliens in our collection. The cool thing is that they are actually the backgrounds. So you can use your CryptoPunk alien together with an deco alien. There's no competition. You just like put it into the pixel. And then the idea is, what I wanted to say before I went off, was that you can then like, generate these videos from that, deco. I already showed that earlier in the stream, but our goal for sure is to use compute AI to allow people to generate stuff like this in the Vibe Studio. Generate deco to video storytelling technology that people can use to amplify the overall narrative of the Arts Decos ecosystem and their own individual decos. The cool thing is the collection is really consistent in its looks. Like you immediately recognize an Art Deco when you see the base image, but then again, nobody's the same. Like it's really 10K unique NFTs that you will never see the same thing again. It's not layered. It's layered with like an avatar in the background, but not layered as the traditional NFT project layers traits on top of it. And the trait looks always the same. Like that's an entirely different generation of NFT that we've been forging here over the past 2 years.
Our decos didn't become the most unique and nuanced and interesting PFP with the release of the Codex. It was already that when we launched almost a year ago with 10,000 one-of-one characters on 10,000 one-of-one backgrounds.
Clearly, you never saw Soul Llamas.
It's really like another layer that is forming with the Codex. Immense, like 100 million words, but imagine the next layer that forms around the Codex. It's just like trillions of parameters.
Our decos are a PFP project and an encyclopedia in one.
This is Colborn was saying this is the museum model, right? Like this is the decentralized museum embodied in these little creatures that will go out and spread the gospel.
Mm-hmm. I wish every museum was full of little creatures.
It should be every I mean we're setting the stage here.
Spoken like someone with kids.
Well,
I don't wish museums were filled with little creatures. It's so loud.
It makes museums going to a museum with a toddler is a joy.
Just another MOCA town hall where we're taking Untitled's toddler to the Met. We're just gonna let him touch everything. He can touch faster than security guards can catch him.
His little hands are fast.
Little hands, the 5 fingers in them.
Usually sticky.
Thank you very much for being here, everyone, for another MOCA Weekly Town Hall. We will have more information on the Vibe Studio coming this weekend. We'll be back here next week, I'm sure, talking about 15 other apps that Renee has built with Daim at 2 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday night.
That almost never happens.
It almost never happens, except most of the time.
Except when it does.
Appreciate everyone being here. Thank you, Renee. And so long, y'all. Bye-bye.